Started this channel not really knowing what it might lead to. We called it $1,000,000 Made Easy because I saw how easy somebody can get to $1,000,000 if they use the S&P 500 and it continues to do what it's been doing for over 100 years, especially if you have 35 or 40 years. I wish somebody would have showed me this stuff 40 years ago. Anyway, what I did is just decided to run some numbers, and I've got over 100 videos now. Some probably aren't the best, but check them out for yourself. What I want to do in this case, somebody asked me, they said they were 20 years old. Boy, I wish I would have known this when I was 20 years old. They said they can save $500 a month, and they want to know where they might be given that scenario. So I thought, well, that's exciting. Let's see, somebody in their 20s or 20 years old. I mean, I only ran it for 40 years, so 45 would be even better. But what I did was I took the returns for the S&P 500. You can see them in this column. Some of you have already subscribed and have seen my videos. You know what this is. These are the returns. The red are in uh, down years. And if the market would continue to do what it did back in 1923, of course, it would never do it exactly, but if it did what it did in 1923, these are the actual numbers this individual would have after 40 years. Who knows what 45 years would do? But 3.649 without changing a bit. Now I want to do one more. First of all, this is 1923 numbers. I want to be fair. I want to do it for all the years because we want to look at years like 1929 and so on, even though 1923 went through those years for 35 or 40 years. But here's the absolute, look at this, 40 years, the absolute minimum. This is, you can go down through here. These are the returns. In other words, this was 1923's numbers right here. If I click on 1924, those are those numbers. You can see those across there. And I did it for 40 years because that's what this individual asked me to do. I'd actually like to do for 45. Maybe I'll set that up too. But anyway, look at this. The minimum you're going to see in this column, no matter what year you pick for the next 40 years, the minimum in this column you're going to find is 2.377. The median will be 3.635 and maximum be $7 million. You can see in this case, the 1924 numbers, if they would be like that for the next 40 years, you'd have over $4 million. But that's the kind of numbers I want to run for people. This channel is just set up to do whatever numbers you want. I want to do one more thing for this individual who asked me to do this. I'm going to increase this by, let's just do 2% a year. Let's just see, just out of curiosity, what these numbers might change. The median being 3.635, just by increasing it by 2% a year. In other words, $500, and next year 510, next year 520. Look at that. The median we got up over 4.296 million, and the maximum 8 million. The minimum would be 2 million. Let's see if we can get that minimum be in other words, the worst case scenario. Let's see if we can get that over 3 million, or just by increasing this by 3% a year. Again, he's doing so good if he can save $500 a month. Well, let me just update this. And this is an update the 40-year column for every single year. And it takes just a minute to do it. I have a feeling, yep, 3 million right there. So, but again, if he just stuck with the not changing it at all, what do we have for that number? Go back, I think it was 2.4 million or something. The median being 3 point something. Anyway, look what $500 a month will do for a 20-year-old. That's why I want to get these numbers out. In other videos, we look at the withdrawal stage. In this video, I just want to look at the accumulation stage because once you reach retirement, everything changes because you're not putting money in anymore, you're taking money out. And that's when we have to be concerned about these years especially because they can really knock you down. If you check out some of my other videos, you'll see that. I just want people to understand the market has its ups and its downs. The 1930s, the 1970s had some down years. The 2000s had some down years. But if you can be in it for 35 or 40 years, in this case 40 years, you're going to catch these good decades too. So unless you think the market's going to totally be different from what it's been doing cycle after cycle after cycle, you can pretty much figure that's going to be the range. And what I did was I did this for a 35-year time frame just to give you some idea. Not everybody can do $500 a month, but if you would do $200 a month, over a 35-year period, the minimum you're going to find in that column would be 580,000, the maximum being 1.877. Let me just show you that real quick. $200 a month, 1923, after 35 years, you have 1,013,000. But let's just update it for all these. $200 a month, Minimum, there's the 580,000. Hopefully that works, what I showed you before. Sorry, it's still calculating and spinning on me. Yeah, 580,000 for the minimum. Isn't that what we just saw? 580,000 and maximum being 1.877. This should be working because it finds the minimum and the maximum and the median in this column, and it runs it for every single year. So this is the range. So you might be in your 20s and say, I can't afford $500 a month. Well, look what some of these other numbers would do. If you just did $350 a month, 100% of the time in the last 100 years, you would have had over $1 million. There's the minimum, $1,015,000. You could have as much as 3.285. But that's the kind of things I do here. We look at the accumulation stage, trying to encourage people to get started. But then we also look at the withdrawal stage in other videos, especially the Dave Ramsey videos. I've run a bunch of those lately, and I've been getting a lot of comments on that. So we'll look at that again in future videos. But this was I just want to do this for an individual. So hopefully these numbers encourage you to get saving, and especially if you have a long period of time, 30, 35, or 40 years. Thanks for watching.